Hey, Patrizia, everyone has microphone rights. If you want to click on the microphone icon at the top of the screen, you can turn your mic on. And then, since we have mics on for everyone, it'd be good if people mute their mics when they're not using it. So, what trouble are you having, Patrizia? Skype may still have control of your microphone, but you should. Are you hearing everyone and viewing the screen?
Oh, thanks, sweetie. If I'm driving you crazy. Okay. Hi, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me. Oh, good.
Hi, hi everyone. This is Beth from Pace. Keith, do you think we're ready to begin?
Hi, Beth.
Hi.
Yeah, except Patrizia is having some problem with her microphone, and she's going to be presenting for the faculty support.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was misunderstanding that. So please go ahead and let's help her first. That's fine.
I think she logged out and is going to log back in again. Beth, while we're waiting, did you want to talk about ABLE or the slides that you submitted this week? While we're waiting for Patrizia? Okay.
Sure, that sounds great. Hi everyone. This is Beth. Is that I don't know if that's someone else trying to talk, but I'm from Pace University and here with my colleagues Linda and Sam. Hi. Hi. And we're happy to meet with you all again. This is such a great group. We're enjoying this so much, this mug group, and it's kind of informal and always fun to see who comes to the meetings, and it's so neat to see. We have, I think, 152 muggers in our Facebook group, and we find it a really fascinating read, a great place to check for quick questions and see what's going on in the community. So thank you all for your participation in that. And in looking forward, we'd like to start planning. I know this is our last agenda item, but so we can mention it now, that we'd like to start planning for the ABLE conference, which, as many of you know, is the international conference that's held each year in Boston. And we had a meetup last year during lunch, and we'd like to try to facilitate something similar. Lunch was good, but I don't think it gave us quite enough time to talk as a group. So in talking to Christina and a few others, we thought that it might be a good idea to try to put in a session again this year. We had presented as a group 2 years ago, and in talking to Trent Batson, he suggested that perhaps we submit a session that's maybe a little bit longer and maybe would be a half presentation and kind of half open meeting, which might serve our needs well. We could present again as a panel, and we could share. I mean, it would be great to have as many of you join live, but we understand the travel distance, and if some of you couldn't be part of it live, perhaps you could share information with us, clips, samples. You know, we'd love to have MUG represented as fully as we can, so I'm sure we could get creative with that too. We haven't seen a call for proposals yet, which is strange. Usually by now we have it, but when we do see the call for proposals come out, we can start a conversation up in Facebook and with each other and just see what the ideas are. But if anyone has any ideas here, if you want to chime in or post in the chat, we're thinking about it. Oh, I see Christina posted the annual conference information, which is great. But it's a really great conference. It's a great time for us to get together and share ideas about Mahara and ePortfolio and to help each other. Oh, great. Hi, Gail. Yeah, it's nice to see you here. I didn't notice that you had joined us. Yeah, we'd love to do something with you at Pratt. We feel like we started our Mahara use with some of your colleagues from Pratt, and it'd be great to continue that. So let's talk more about that. Again, what we did 2 years ago, for those of you who weren't part of that, is we had a panel presentation of a few schools that have been part of this MUG group. And each of us kind of gave an update about where we are, and then also talked a little bit about what the MUG group has done for us. And so we could do something similar or different, but I think some way to give us a chance to present, but also just chat openly with people at the conference about Mahara and sharing ideas around ePortfolio use through Mahara would be great.
Can you hear me?
Other comments about that? Okay. I don't know if Patrizia is ready with the microphone. Looks like George is typing. Yeah, I figured that was the event, but that doesn't go. If they're not ready, we do have another topic that we can talk about. But oh.
Can you hear anything from us now? I'm trying to help Patricia.
Yes, we can hear you. It's a little bit faint, but is this George?
Can you hear me? This is George.
Oh yes.
Am I coming across okay?
You're coming across great.
Oh, good. Maybe I'll just start a little introduction. It sounds as though Larry and Ivo have gotten Patrizia on. Patrizia Magni, actually, let me just introduce her. She got her doctorate at Teachers College some years ago. Before that, she's a native Italian, and she's taught just about in every way you can imagine in Italy and in this country, too. We can hear you. So,
it's going to be echo.
Actually, I can hear her. Is that Patrizia?
Yeah, that's me. Sorry.
Oh, good. Okay. So Patrizia, anyway, got her doctorate at TC and basically in linguistics, learning how to use technology for teaching languages. And after her doctorate, she went back to Italy and ran some computer labs and taught more. And then we brought her back. I brought her back to the college because she's really our expert with respect to using technology and really the pedagogy of using technology in teaching and learning. So this expertise is really a valuable one for us. She actually she practices her theory. She's really the best teacher I've ever experienced. One of the wonderful things that happened for us around the year 2000 was that the college was up for its regular NCATE reaccreditation process. So as part of that, some electronic portfolio functionality was really, if not required, was really encouraged. So we began an initiative to develop an e-portfolio system at the college, and we used live text at that time. But really, to use it well, we realized that we had to train our faculty and get them really comfortable in how to use it. Unfortunately, the college, the reason the college was doing this was to come up with accreditation data to present to NCATE. So not only did we have to worry about the e-portfolio, the development of portfolios by the students, but we had to worry about aggregating assessment data from departments, from individuals to departments, actually from individuals to programs to departments, all the way up to the institutional level. So it was a huge challenge, and working with the faculty was really the critical piece of this. So at that time, Patrizia actually took the effort on to develop a group of graduate students. Of course, Teachers College is a graduate institution, but to develop a cohort of students who could really go out and work one-on-one with faculty. And in fact, in many cases, gave workshops for the students as well to get them comfortable with using the technology. So this initial effort then it actually was funded by our Preparing Teachers to Use Technology, our PT3 grant, which went on for 4 more years or so after that effort. And after the PT3 grant ended, we were able to keep the Tech Fellow program alive for a little while, but only in a very reduced form. And just recently, I guess in 2010, we were able to get funding, central funding from the institution to really start to build it up again. Patrizia, by this time, had learned significantly what was successful, what really made the program work well, and where the barriers were, because there were substantial barriers, particularly with trying to work with all the assessment data and encourage faculty to use it when it didn't seem pedagogically exciting to them, and the students as well. They really didn't see any reason to be doing these e-portfolios. It was just additional work. So this connection with these graduate students, and in fact it was designed such that students were assigned to departments that they were enrolled in. So not only did they have technical expertise, they had content expertise. So they could really talk the language of their particular instructors. So Patrizia really, I can't tell you how amazed I am at this program that she created. I think it's fairly unique, and it's one in which she's developed this cohort of autonomous learners. I mean, they really, I sit in the background and I see the emails bouncing back and forth when faculty ask a question, and the fellows all bing, 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 back and forth, come up with solutions, and then not only that, develop communication to to the faculty and all the other tech fellows to demonstrate what really has worked. So maybe without further ado, I should give it over to Patrizia instead of doing her whole presentation here.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to mute my speakers because I'm sorry. I mean, I tested the system 100 times, and of course I have this bad karma. Technology always breaks on me. Anyway, so if you can all hear me, I will just briefly, well, George has already introduced myself, so I will briefly describe the Tech Fellow program. So if you have any questions in the end, feel free to interrupt me, although I won't hear you, so. Okay, so I'll go ahead, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please. Okay. As George said, we went through different incarnations of the Tech Fellow program. And what it is like today, we have a cohort of 12 Tech Fellows, one coordinator, and they're covering 10 departments. And their aim is, the goal is to support faculty with technology and their pedagogy. So it's not just e-portfolios, Mahara, but it's all the tools that we are supporting at Teachers College. So Moodle, Google Apps, Alfresco, Adobe Connect, Second Life, Qualtrics, and the Smartboard. So they have a wider scope. They work for 17 hours a week. They have a stipend per semester, and they also get 3 credits. They can only be registered students. And what we'd like to have, if possible, is have at least 2 semesters on board, to a commitment of 2 semesters, so that they can be better trained and provide better support. The training, I'll talk briefly about it later on, is based on self-directed collaborative model. And I'll be able to talk about it later. Can I move to the next slide, or you need to? If I click, what happens? Nothing. Okay, thank you. So the role of the Tech Fellow is to assist faculty one-on-one. They can do it in several ways. They can go to their office in person, exchange email, use the phone, use chat. We have Google Chat. Sometimes they work on a document and they just, they use Adobe Connect, and they use it better than I do. They're pretty good and pretty savvy. They can set up a web conference and assist faculty. Tech Fellows also run the orientation sessions. We just had one now. We had Moodle orientation, or we can have Mahara orientation, and they do it for faculty. And sometimes if faculty wants to have their students be exposed, they go to their courses and offer orientation. They test new tools and upgrade it of new tools. They also produce help documentation. It can be online, offline, handouts, whatever, and then we share. They also manage, we have a mailbox. The faculty doesn't know who the Tech Fellows are. They can write to this Tech Fellow help mailbox, so we share, we all have access to it, and we provide prompt help. And we have a Twitter. Anybody can follow us on Twitter. We have very few followers, I have to say, but we will insist. And also, when we have faculty brown bag lunches or technology dialogues, we call them, and various other events, they present best practices. Yes. So can we go to the next slide? I'll show you the structure. Okay. This is, I was trying to have a circular image because I don't like pyramids. So each Tech Fellow is kind of acts as a liaison between their department, and the departments are all around the circle, but they also collaborate within the circle. There's a coordinator, that's an angel, and there's a supervisor, me. I'm the dragon. I protect them from external attacks, but I also shoot some fire when things don't go well. But this works pretty neatly. And what they do is, okay, they have access to resources. ACS is Academic Computing, it's us. They have access to shared spaces. They have also some test environments or test classes in Moodle, and they have meetings. In the next slide, we'll show you the workflow of a Tech Fellows. Okay, what happens when a faculty member has a question? Okay, the faculty member contacts the Tech Fellow. The Tech Fellows provide the answer, and this is fine. But this is rare. The next slide will show you most probably what happens. The faculty member has a question. The Tech Fellow is not sure. So the Tech Fellow communicates with the Tech Fellow group, and this part is the most constructive and most interesting, because they really exchange and learn a lot by communicate with each other. The Tech Fellow can also have a knowledge base, which is constructed by us all. So we have a website with all the question and possible answers and contacts that they can redirect faculty to, because sometimes the question does not just pertain Moodle, Mahara, or those technologies, it pertains other things. So the Tech Fellows know and have the role to redirect. And at the end, when they return their answer to the faculty, they fill out a Tech Fellow assistance form where they keep record of what they're done. And we can gather data and see what happens in the process. Okay. Right. This is an example. Oh, we meet once a week, right? And 3 meetings a month are online, and 1 meeting usually face-to-face. The online meeting is the way you see. We're sharing an agenda. Each tech fellow. Okay, let me explain. Every week, a tech fellow is a host, so it's in charge of the meeting. So they're also in charge of the agenda, and the agenda covers a lot of things. Yeah, I think the next, okay, the next, yeah, shows you the way the agenda works. There's a host and there's a scribe. The host has also instructor privileges in Moodle if we have to work with Moodle, and assigns homework for the other tech fellows. The agenda covers a lot of things, useful links that we need to refer to. It has announcement, urgent deadlines. The issues of the week are rediscussed when they're solved so that everybody can participate and know what's going on. There are projects. We have some projects. One is the website help project, and we have a video project where the tech fellows create videos, snippets, and we talk about that. We have presentations. Each week, a tech fellow decides to present one topic, and it can be anything. It can be Mahara, it can be an aspect of Moodle, and it presents to the other tech fellows, and they get feedback not only in terms of content, but in their presentation skills. So, and there's an area about testing. Whenever we have to test new tools, the tweet of the week gets discussed, and the action items, so we know what we have to do in the future. Well, this is pretty basic. Okay. So, their training model, am I going too fast? No, I can't hear you. Okay, good. Too slow? Okay. The model, okay. Communication is the key. So how do they communicate? They communicate through their group email. They also communicate chat. Sometimes some tech fellows work at night, so we have this Google chat, and we just go back and forth, face to face. They meet each other by phone, texting. I realize that now tech fellows use texting a lot, and also Skype. Sometimes they use Skype to communicate with faculty and with each other. They have share spaces, as I said. They have shared folders in Google Docs. We have an entire folder with subfolders in Google Docs where we have all spreadsheets, forms, and all sorts of things that we need. It's pretty convoluted. And then we have a tech fellow training website where all the information gets posted, and it's kind of it's a resource where they all go to. And they have 3 or 4 Moodle test courses. One is a sandbox where they just experiment. One is the teacher training course where they act as students, and other courses they may use to show faculty as example. Their training is based on mentor and mentee. So the fellows who have more experience are mentors, and they make sure that the new fellow gets up to speed. We also have each week, every tech fellow assumes the role of the instructor and provides assignments, and we all have to do it, me included. Presentations, I already talked to it, and presentation gets assessed by the entire group. And there's a self-assessment key at the end of the semester to see how much they have learned. I think the next slide shows you kind of okay, this is what a self-mentoring chart looks for. It's only a little bit, but there are things that they need to know They make sure they've covered the topic. They make sure that the mentee has learned this series of things. And then the mentee has his or her own chart, which is the next chart. Okay. The mentee keeps track. He says, I know this. I'm not very sure. This is what I need to do. So they keep track of what they're learning. Okay. Okay. Are you interested in knowing how they're recruited? Because the process is a little... okay. Now, the criteria for fellows, we want to have someone with technical abilities, knowledge of security policy, to have some sort of experience. The key is to have good interpersonal and communication skills, because the technical part they can learn. The schedule has to be flexible. Usually good students are very busy all over, but we expect a kind of flexibility, and they need to be available at least 2 semesters. As I said before, we would like to have continuity, and the second semester is what works best. If it's more, we're happier. They need to be comfortable when they work in a group. We would like to have problem solver, self-directed learners. Everybody says I'm a self-directed learner, but sometimes it's not true. They want me to tell them what to do, but we're working on it. The other important thing is that they need to respect deadlines, being reliable, proactive, take the initiative, not afraid of making mistakes, resolve conflicts, accept criticism, and able to cope with stress. We have, at the beginning of semester, it's very stressful. Faculty asks for help. In 3 minutes, everything needs to be solved. So in order to see if we have a person that can be a good tech fellow, the process goes through in the next slide, and I'm going to show you how we recruit them. Okay, we first learned that we have to have a recommendation from the department. Ideally, we would like to have a tech fellow who is also a student in the department. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes it doesn't work. But we need to do it. We need to have faculty suggest who would they like. Sometimes, and more often than not, they don't suggest the right person, because usually at teachers' college, they're more focused on research. So they recommend people who are good at research, but they have poor communication skills. So we have to find a balance with that. They go through a job application, and then the interview is fairly detailed. There's a questionnaire that focuses at the list of the criteria that I showed you before. Then after submitting a questionnaire, they come and have a face-to-face interview or a Skype interview. Yes. Can we go to next? Okay, this is an example of, they have a form, but this is an example of questions that they go through, and there are different scenarios, and depending on what they answer, we'll be able to determine whether they're more suitable or not. They're very good at this, so sometimes not even this will provide the right. So next one is the challenges. Okay, we're facing challenges. We're facing a variety of challenges. One is reaching out faculty. We have a good number of adjuncts who are not around, and they're teaching all over the city. So sometimes it's very hard. Email sometimes doesn't work. So we're trying to do the best we can, but it's still a challenge. The second challenge is, by the time the tech fellows are ready to fly and they're wonderful, they leave. So there is a turnover. because they graduate or they move to a better job. I don't know, but we have this, and that's why we insist on 2 semesters. But it would be nicer to have them on board for a longer period. The physical space. Okay, the tech fellows are students, so they don't have a space where they can sit and have faculty join them. We're working on this, and George may say something about it, on having a space, a physical space for training and support. Sometimes they use their own phone, which is not something that I like, but this would be a very great asset once we have it. And the faculty expectations is another challenge. We need to reach a balance. Tech fellows are not teaching assistants, but sometimes they're seen as teaching assistants. So that they are supposed to empower faculty and make sure that the faculty will be independent, but sometimes the expectations are not exactly. So academic computing will clarify and solve the issues. I think I'm done. If you have, now I'm going to turn on my speakers, otherwise it'll echo. And if you have any questions.
Yeah, good, Patrizia. I see Roger is asking some questions about the number of people whom we support. And actually, we have, it's kind of a challenge. We have, 140 or so, 150 full-time faculty in the college, but we also have another 250 or 300 adjuncts. So it's difficult to reach those people. We typically use email, and if they're on campus, then the tech fellows can come and visit them. Patrizia mentioned trying to have a physical space, and that's a real challenge. The college has been trying for a while to develop some sort of learning center, but we don't have that yet. We do have a hands-on computer classroom that has actually have 3 of those, and I think one of those we're going to convert into a space beginning this semester where the tech fellows can have sort of a home and lay out in such a way that faculty can come and immediately get help with a tech fellow sitting there who can actually work with them, maybe sometimes better than if they're in the faculty member's office, because there'll be resources there which can be presented. And I mentioned we do use these folks for classroom technology support and other things as well as just the online environment. So it's good to have those kinds of resources that we can train people in. For example, using presentation gateways now so that we can encourage faculty to have students in the classroom share their screens on the central projection unit. So that's something that will take some work. I'm just curious, too, for those folks who do have e-term or like the learning technologists and other kinds of support like this, whether how they work with faculty to sort of get them thinking about the pedagogy. In our school, it's difficult because our faculty all think they're the pedagogical experts. So they don't really think about learner-centered technologies and ways to teach that are more learner-centric. And it's with ePortfolios in particular, as I say, we rolled them out as more of an assessment system, and that was a mess. So I'm just wondering how, if using Mahara, how you get people thinking about ways to, encourage the learners to reflect, encourage the faculty to get their learners to reflect. I don't know, is that easy? Do you have ways that that your folks work with faculty to do this kind of thing? So that's my question.
I just saw 2 questions, and I replied in the chat about the students. They are current students. We cannot have students who have graduated. They have to be enrolled in classes, and the 3 credits are given as tuition exemption. This is graduate school, so, but they have to be current students.
Yeah. Is my mic
Patricia, I don't
on?
know if you want to answer. Peter's.
Can
Yep.
you hear me? Okay, so
Yep.
I just wanted to address that question that was thrown out about getting people onto Mahara. We actually just upgraded our Mahara, and we're about to embark on trying to get full-scale Pratt adoption of ePortfolio for people using it in their classes. But 2 of our divisions are using it, using Mahara as in different ways. We have a graduate library school, and they use Mahara as an assessment tool at the for the final degree. So all students, as they're studying, have to put together an e-portfolio that will then be looked at before they can receive their degree. And the departments work very hard in themselves. So SILS gets together its faculty, and they have they have designed a requirement for their students. And then our intensive English program, which is somewhat like an English as a second language program, also has a very strong departmental dialogue and conversation about how they want their students to use the e-portfolio. So they then require their students, and everyone's sort of on the same page. They build templates at the beginning of the semester for how their students' e-portfolio should look.
I'd like to reply to Peter, the ideal ratio between the faculty development and the just-in-time support. I don't know. In our institution, it's trying to get faculty in groups and learn. Once we have this physical space, it might happen, but it's very hard. And we mostly do the just-in-time, but then there is a follow-up, and then we ask faculty to present in their brown bag lunches. So there's this continuity, but the good ratio about these 2, I don't know. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Patricia and George. Really interesting work, and we we have similar issues, challenges, and also some successes too, using students at pace. So we really appreciated your presentation. I don't know if there's other questions, or maybe we can continue the questions for them through the chat, because there's one other topic we were hoping to get to today, and that's usability of Mahara and trying to improve that, if that's okay with everybody. Hearing no objections? Okay. Hearing no objections, we'll move on. Just to give you a little background, we're in our 4th year of using Mahara, and really doing pretty well with it overall, really enjoying it. But we have been noticing a trend of some pushback or discontent regarding the usability of Mahara. And of course, those of us that are deeply involved with it, we think it's great and very robust and does what we want it to do, but it's a big obstacle if our new users log in and don't know where to go. And so we've been talking about this with some of you on the sides. We've been talking to Christina, and we met with Roger and the British Sam, as I'm calling her, earlier in the week. I work with a great Sam too. Looks like Roger does as well. And this seems to be a theme at other places. And so what I'm hoping we can do is work within this group and other Mahara users yeah, we all do need a great Sam, that's true, to develop some ideas for how we could improve upon Mahara to make it as user-friendly as possible. I think we have just one or two slides here to show you. We've been doing surveys, having focus groups with faculty and students and staff, and so these quotes just show you, some of the issues that are coming up, some of the things that our users are finding troublesome. I think the missing piece for us is the workflow. When students log in, they come to the tabs, and it's unclear where to go to actually begin. I don't know if you want to add anything, but okay. Feel free to, join in by audio or chat if this is similar to any issues you're facing. We'd be curious to hear that. And I should mention that we do tons of training and faculty development, so we really feel like we couldn't do too much more there. At this point, we feel like the improvement really needs to be within the tool itself. And as we start to look at the landscape of web tools that are out there, web applications, we're just noticing there's a lot more white space, fewer words, a quick graphic, a quick tutorial or video, but then it's very clear. I think Roger said it very well earlier this week. I'm paraphrasing, but he said when you come to a page, there should be kind of one clear action on that page, and I've been thinking about that a lot. I think that's something we need to try to develop. So, as I mentioned, these are our current support efforts that we're really doing very robustly. We've trained over 100 faculty through our teaching circles over 3 years. Our eTerns, which are kind of our tech fellow equivalents, do hundreds of class presentations a year. We do lots of help through walk-ins, help desk, but all of this doesn't seem quite enough when the student sits down to create his or her portfolio sometimes in the last moments and doesn't know where to go. This slide shows you our current ePortfolio, and if you want to, I'll write the link here. You can log in yourself. Sorry, I didn't make that a link. Oh, I guess I need the HTTP there. But you can log in there if you want to see for yourself. Right now we have a lot going on there, and we're trying to simplify. One of the things that we're trying to we're trying to discuss among a small focus group here, and we'd like to get your input too, is we're trying to create those simple words that we see on other websites. And Roger, maybe you could share through the chat the 3 kind of short phrases that you use. And of course, we're trying to build upon the standard ePortfolio, collect, select, and reflect, but make it even simpler for students that are not in the ePortfolio world. So we're wrestling with terms such as collect, build, and share, or create, explore, and share. Basically we're trying to convey something with the collection creation, and then something with the reflection, thinking, analyzing, and then something with the sharing, connecting, kind of permission changing. So we're looking for kind of 3 easy words or phrases that could help our users understand what they're going to do. And Mahara, we have this in our Mahara area right now with the create and collect, organize, share, and network. And those graphics make a lot of sense to us, but we're afraid that to our users who are new to ePortfolio, it's just not readily apparent what they should do. And yeah, I think Roger put his in there: get seen, get noticed, get that job. And yeah, it's definitely employability focused, but it's very clear. A student's going to look at that and know exactly what they're going to do with that tool, and we think that clarity is very important, and we're looking for clarity. Yeah, do we have this next one, and did you put it in here, or you didn't?
No.
Okay. I wonder if, can I drag
You
it?
could share your screen, I think. I don't think that's going to work.
Okay. I'm going to attempt to share the screen here. Oh, okay. Because I wanted to show you what we're... You'll have to let me know if this is working. Can you all see a mock-up of our ePortfolio page? Okay, great. Great. So this is in draft. We're just kind of experimenting with building new buttons that would be much more direct and would be hyperlinks to actual tasks within Mahara. So even paring down from the 3 concepts to just the 2, where create would take folks to perhaps the academic materials page or the introduction page. I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Introduction page. And then the share would take them to the permission changing page, because that's been a huge obstacle for us, that even students who make great ePortfolios often forget to change their permissions in the end, and we have some frustration from that as well. Now, for the students that know what they're doing, they wouldn't have to go this route. They could continue to change the portfolio and content tabs as normal. So we're not really looking to change anything major, but we're just trying to make the workflow for the beginner user really much more direct. So I'd be curious to hear any of your comments on this, if this is an issue that you're facing at your institutions, or if you have any suggestions for us on ways we could make this clearer, trying to create buttons that link to actual workplaces within Mahara to make it easier. We'll open it up. Anyone have any thoughts? Yeah, they put there. Most people. And of course, Christina, we'd love to, hear if any of this might be on the roadmap for future Mahara versions as well.
Beth?
Yeah.
In addition to the workflow issues, I think when I work with students and when I come into classes and so forth, there's a couple maybe more fundamental issues as well, just besides the confusion. And I put one into the chat. I mean, the idea of creating a portfolio page by assembling blocks or building blocks of stuff that you've collected earlier is not so much is not a natural way of thinking for a lot of the students that I work with. They can. Opening up a blank word processing page and starting to type, that's one thing. But you can't just open up a portfolio page and start to type. You've got to think about, well, what do I actually have in my portfolio that I can bring down onto this page? And so, just getting over that idea of, well, yes, you can by putting a text block in and so forth. But the idea that students have to think about, well, what have I collected that I want to bring down onto my page is a different way of thinking than most of them think about their stuff, I think. I don't know. I like to create and share. I assume that the create has takes them to a place where they get some prods or reminders to reflect as well as just collect. So how does that work in the workflow you're thinking about putting together?
I'm sorry. That's a great question. We don't know. I mean, clearly the reflection is the key to this whole ePortfolio, and that may be the most abstract part. And we like to encourage students to use the journal feature for the reflect, but I feel like we're even trying to pare it down even more simply for just this basic setup. I mean, I almost imagine reflect being kind of a grayed out link between the two, that between creating and sharing that reflection would be happening. But we were really just trying to oversimplify this so we hear less of those comments that I shared on the first screen, because we're afraid it's creating, I mean, even though our adoption is increasing, this usability issue is creating a real roadblock for us among some users, so much so that if some faculty, if they have too many of these usability issues, then they just don't return to ePortfolio, in a subsequent semester. Right. So I feel like we've got to hurry up and address something, even if it means kind of simplifying some of what we believe are the core I don't know, the core beliefs of ePortfolio, just to get our users back in there with confidence, and then we can continue to educate about reflection and some of the more sophisticated elements that Mahara allows for.
I mean, and the way you've got the workflow on this screen here, where you're focusing on create and share, that fits very naturally into the idea of, as a student, well, I want to put my portfolio together because I want to showcase my stuff.
Yeah.
And, you can do a lot of showcasing without the reflecting, and that might be what, gets students feeling more comfortable and natural with the ePortfolio system.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like Roger just posted, once a faculty member is turned off to it, it is so hard to turn them back around again, and we've run into that in a few key areas, and it becomes it's much harder to convince someone to take a second look than to take a first look. And so we want the first look to be so easy that, the second look and, future uses of Mahara is just, always a pleasant experience. I guess that's what we're trying to make it.
Beth, just a quick question. Did you ask your users how they would like to create their portfolio, kind of what their ideal workflow would be, so that we have some more concrete ideas of or into which direction to go then with future development work?
Yeah, well, we have like an informal focus group that we've worked with this month that is comprised of faculty, students, and staff, and we focus more on the words and the layout. But I know even Sam and I differ a little bit on how we approach ePortfolio. Sam goes more to the files and begins that way, and I go right to a page. So, we're a little unsure with the best way to approach this. There's a lot of functionality with Mahara, but we just want to make it easy for someone to get into. And I think what we might hope to do to address what you're suggesting, Christina, is to maybe make this change and then run some focus groups this semester and try to get more detailed feedback as you're suggesting, so we can make further improvements. But we don't want.
I think
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Finish your sentence first.
No, we know the challenges we create for ourselves if we make too many customizations. So we're really just trying to streamline that and not make too many changes, because then we confuse people too, and then we burden our programmers with more customizations to upgrade. So it's a balancing act.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be good to kind of ask your users, students, and staff the questions that Keith brought up in terms of, okay, sit in front of a blank piece of paper, like in a Word document, in contrast to pulling in building blocks. Which way would they prefer to work, and things like that, to go really more into these details then, and really also figure out the distinction between create, organize, and share and network, or where exactly the breaking points are, so that we can try to address those. Because in the past we've already changed it so that you don't, with a number of things, don't necessarily have to go to the content area of the portfolio, but can directly put things into your portfolio. And that's not just text boxes, it's also embedding videos or uploading files directly on the screen, and also being able to author a journal entry directly on the screen once you've put a journal into a page and things like that. So we've made improvements in that direction, but these might not be enough. And so kind of knowing how the users would like to work, what they would like to see in very more concrete terms, that would be really, really helpful. Mm-hmm. And that's not just PACE, but any other institution where you have the possibility to talk to your users and really see what they would like to have.
Yeah, I think we need to do more of that with our students, and every semester we do a follow-up with the faculty that have gone through our teaching circle, so we could use those too. So we do have groups of people that we could definitely go to ask more of those questions. A good suggestion.
Beth, do you have departments that are using the portfolio across the 4 years of the degree, for example? Because if we don't have that here yet, it's one direction I'm thinking of, targeting specific departments to work with. And if you've got department buy-in in that way, maybe you have focus on a very simplified workflow and idea of what the portfolio is in the freshman year, but you can approach the creating more complex and more reflective portfolios in a more developmental kind of process.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good idea too, Keith. We're just starting to have e-portfolios required for all our English courses on our Westchester campus, and we do have some grad programs that require it. So we do have some, I guess, cohorts we could use for that kind of review.
Yep.
But these are all good ideas and something I'm hoping we could continue to discuss in our Facebook group and with each other individually. It was great to meet up with Roger and Sam this week and hear that they're working on something similar. So perhaps we can all continue to work on it and make it easier for all of our schools to use Mahara. And I think we're getting close to the end of time. But again, it'd be great to continue all these conversations, and I think, Keith, you'll usually make this recording available to those who may have missed this.
Yeah, that should be well, hopefully later today.
Okay. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. It was great, getting a chance to get together and exchange ideas. We really enjoyed it, and be happy to follow up with anyone after today if anyone wants to help plan items for our next meeting, which I assume we'll try to plan for mid-spring or so.
Yep.
Sound good?
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording then.
Okay. Bye. Keith, thanks so much for everything you do to set us up with Adobe. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
Let me stop sharing.